Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling strangely drained, even though nothing openly negative happened? That quiet exhaustion, the sudden self-doubt, the sense that something is off but you can't quite explain it. These feelings don't appear by accident. They're often signs of psychological targeting by toxic people. Unlike obvious conflict, this kind of behavior hides beneath polite words, fake concern, or subtle jokes, making it harder to recognize and easier to dismiss.
Toxic people rarely choose their targets randomly. They are often drawn to individuals who are empathetic, self-aware, driven, or emotionally intelligent. If you have strong values, personal goals, or a natural kindness, you may unknowingly trigger their insecurities. Instead of working on themselves, they try to regain a sense of control by quietly undermining you. This isn't always loud or aggressive. In fact, the most effective manipulation is usually silent.
One of the first signs is subtle criticism disguised as helpful advice. They may comment on your choices, your abilities, or your personality in a way that sounds caring but leaves you questioning yourself. Over time, these remarks add up. You begin to doubt decisions you once felt confident about. You replay conversations in your head, wondering if you said something wrong or misunderstood their intentions. That confusion slowly weakens your self-confidence. Another common sign is emotional invalidation. When you express discomfort, disappointment, or hurt, they minimize it. They tell you you're overthinking, being too sensitive, or imagining things. This teaches you to distrust your own feelings. Eventually, you may stop sharing how you feel altogether, believing that your emotions are a problem rather than valid signals.
You may also notice that your growth or success makes them uncomfortable. Instead of celebrating your achievements, they downplay them or shift the focus back to themselves. Sometimes they compare you to others in a way that subtly diminishes your progress. In more covert situations, they may act supportive to your face while quietly questioning your abilities to others. Your progress reminds them of what they feel they lack. Another psychological sign is constant tension around them. You feel the need to monitor your words, your tone, or your behavior. You may feel anxious before interacting with them and relieved when it's over. This happens because toxic people often change moods without warning, keeping you emotionally off balance. When you're unsure where you stand, it becomes easier for them to influence you. Guilt is another powerful tool they use. When you set boundaries or choose yourself, they make you feel selfish or disloyal. They may act hurt, withdraw affection, or imply that you've let them down. Slowly, you begin prioritizing their comfort over your own well-being. This emotional burden drains your energy and reinforces their control. Toxic people also tend to be inconsistent. They can be warm, charming, and supportive one moment, then cold or distant the next. This unpredictability creates emotional attachment. You find yourself trying harder to please them, hoping to get back to the version of them that felt safe. This cycle keeps you invested while they remain in control of the dynamic. Projection is another subtle sign. Traits they dislike in themselves are often the ones they accuse you of. If they're insecure, they call you arrogant. If they're dishonest, they question your honesty. This shifts attention away from their behavior and forces you into a defensive position, constantly trying to prove your intentions. Over time, you may notice a loss of self-trust. Decisions feel heavier. You second-guess your instincts and seek reassurance more than before. This is one of the most damaging effects of toxic targeting. When you stop trusting yourself, you become easier to manipulate and less likely to leave unhealthy situations. Isolation can also be part of the pattern. Toxic people may subtly distance you from friends or family by criticizing them or suggesting they don't really understand you.
They may position themselves as the only one who truly cares. This weakens your support system and makes it harder to see the situation clearly.
What makes this kind of targeting so dangerous is how invisible it is. Because there's no obvious abuse, you may blame yourself. You may even defend their behavior, convinced that you're the problem. Toxic dynamics thrive on silence, confusion, and self-doubt.
But being targeted does not mean you are weak. In many cases, it means the opposite. Toxic people are often threatened by authenticity, confidence, and potential. They don't target those they feel superior to. They target those who remind them of what they wish they were. Awareness changes everything. Once you recognize these patterns, their influence begins to fade. You start trusting your perceptions again. You set boundaries without excessive guilt. You choose distance over emotional exhaustion and clarity over confusion.
Healing begins when you stop trying to be understood by those committed to misunderstanding you. It begins when you honor your feelings, protect your energy, and reconnect with who you were before the doubt set in. You are not responsible for fixing someone else's insecurity. If this message resonates, take it as a sign to pause and reflect. Pay attention to how people make you feel, not just what they say. Strengthen your boundaries, surround yourself with those who respect you, and remember this truth: your awareness is your power, your peace is your priority, and your light was never meant to be dimmed for anyone.